8 times a day. 6 to 8 times a day, we will often have to go to the bathroom. And every time we go to the bathroom, we have to make a choice. Constantly, we are inundated with bifurcated choices. Smoking or non-smoking, paper or plastic, is it a boy or is it a girl? Well, I won't make parallels between choice and being who you are. Today I do want to do 3 things. Number 1, I want to describe the current idea of the gender binary and evaluate it using a biological lens. Number 2, I would like to evaluate the current next generation science standards and see what high school science curriculum says about LGBT individuals. Number 3, I'd like to propose some new biology curriculum to use for students. So idea number 1, the binary is false. Now I'm a biologist and I love being able to sort things. If you have a bony skeleton, you're an osteothene. If you have a cartilaginous skeleton, you're a chondrichthene. Easy. Or maybe you're looking at stages of cellular development. If the mouth forms first, you're a protostome. If a different orifice forms first, you're a deuterostome. If you don't know those words, look them up. However, when we try to use biology to bifurcate between male and female, we actually run into a lot of issues. You can try looking at physical characteristics, genitalia, size and shape of different organs, who reproduces, who gestates, who produces mammary milk if we're mammals. But across the entire tree of life, there is only one way we can sort between male and female using a biological lens, and that's gamete size. The only way we can sort between male and female, between egg and sperm, is one is large, the egg, and one is very small, the sperm cell. So that's it. In all of life, all that matters is size. Now I'm a scientist, so let's do a literature search. If you have your phone or your computer, go to the NGSS, the Next Generation Science Standard website, and we're going to use a search engine. Put in a couple search terms. You can type in queer, sex, gender, LGBT, trans with an asterisk, gay, in all capitals if you like. What do you get? Anything? You get nothing. Good day, sir. In 2019, in the newest iteration of our National Science Curriculum for high school students, we are teaching nothing about the LGBT identity. So for the second idea of this talk, science does not teach LGBT. Now one could argue that given point number 1 is biology can't describe LGBT, point number 2, biology doesn't teach LGBT, makes sense. However, science has a long history of being able to both liberate and oppress different groups of people. You can consider phrenology, social Darwinism, the Tuskegee experiments. Did you know that David Starr Jordan, the father of modern ichthyology, the founding president of Stanford University, was also a eugenicist? I think it's time that science formally acknowledges its ability to both liberate and oppress, and that can be done in the high school classroom. What is omitted in a narrative is often just as powerful as what is included. This brings me to point number 3, which is that science has to acknowledge the history of being able to both oppress and liberate a group of people. In the high school classroom, we can begin to do this. We can tell our students how wonderful science is, how we can expand our human knowledge, and we can describe the history of how science has been used to oppress. If we do not teach our history, we are doomed to repeat it. Instead of omitting narratives, let's include our narratives. We can teach LGBT, we can teach race using the biological lens, and instead of justifying the different hierarchies in society, we can prove their arbitrariness. For example, something like 0.1% of our genetic material contributes to our physical appearance, what we call race in society. 0.1%, Bernie! Now, if we can do the same thing with LGBT in science classrooms, this is how we can liberate people like us. Similarly, we can use science to justify the arbitrariness of gender, and we can do that using primary narratives. I called my caregivers the day before I turned 22, and I asked my dad, hey, can you differentiate between the different types of isomers? Hint, there are cis and trans isomers. I told my parents who I was, and I was lucky enough to receive surprise and support. And I can do the same for my students when I'm a teacher. Well, we often create narratives with ourselves as the main characters because I'm a person who has some primary experience. I can use my own stories to better teach my students. For example, I take medication, like a lot of people do. I take a tablet of spironolactone and I take 2 tablets of estradiol, all once a day. How do these medications affect my endocrine system? What happens at the cellular, the tissue, the organ, the organismal level? By using my own stories, I can better teach my students and share primary voices about different identities. Using primary sources, we can better teach our students. People often joke how in school we always get these really arbitrary problems. People make memes out of them now. Someone goes to the store, they buy 50 watermelons for $10.69 each. How much do they all cost? Instead of using arbitrary and random examples, we can use real-world stories, some personal narratives, primary experiences, and using those we can better teach our students. So now let's summarize. Number 1, biology does not support the currently perceived gender binary in society. Number 2, classrooms are not teaching LGBT. But number 3, classrooms need to be able to acknowledge science's ability to both liberate and oppress different groups of people. Overall, when I'm a high school biology teacher, I hope to include rather than omit my personal LGBT narrative in the high school science classroom so I can best support my students. Thank you.